But yeah, big players, big moments. Typical Celtic. Grind it out when not playing well. That's why they're the champions.
I mean, look at the condition of the park we were playing on. It was
a tatty field, wasn't it?
Yeah, both. It was horrendous. But you know, it was one of those ones. You feel it gives you confidence in the team to just go on now and get all 3 trophies. And if you offered me at the start of this season, look, you'll make it to the Europa League last 32, but no more. But you'll also walk away with a treble. I would never have. I would have bit your hand off.
Of course you would. Of course
so
you would.
it really brings things into perspective, and I guess the added sweet side of it is the fact Rangers went out. That is pleasing a lot of Celtic fans. But look, focus on our own success. Our success this season has been tremendous. Neil Lennon, rightfully, biting at the media yesterday after being asked if he doesn't win a quadruple treble, is the season a failure? No, it's not a failure.
Mental.
It's not a failure at all. This season has been outstanding. He's came in and carried on from the greatest manager that this club has seen since Martin O'Neill, and some would even maybe say Jock Stein, with how well Rodgers did. I wouldn't say so, but some would maybe. He's came in and he's carried on when he was wrote against, never been able to do it. And that's hats off to Len.
What was I going to say really quickly there? Oh, they're almost victims of their own success with questions like that from the media. You know, the standards have been so high.
Like, there's going to be a time where Celtic don't win a treble. There's going to be a time where...
I think if Celtic got knocked out the weekend, there would have been sections of the Celtic support wanting them gone.
I don't agree necessarily.
Sections?
A minority, I think there would be the odd roaster who would argue that Lennon's not the man just because of the week.
But it's just they're generally victims of their own success. Their standards are so high.
Put it this way, the thing is for Celtic over the next 2 years, we've known this at the start of the season, as long as we win 2 league titles, that's it.
Yeah,
that's all we need. You know.
And that's that.
No complaints over here.
And will Edouard be here for 10 in a row?
Yes, he will.
Right, 100% sure.
Not 100.
Do you think they'll have to offer him a new deal for him to stay?
I think they're going to go along the lines of giving him a new deal. You know, you've probably heard the rumours, the gentleman's agreement that has been spoke about. Neil Lennon's came out. Have you not heard about this?
No,
so, according to the French media, what's going to happen is Celtic are going to offer him a new 4-year, 5-year deal,
and he'll leave the summer after.
But they'll allow him to leave in the summer of 2021, which I think will happen. Neil Lennon did comment on it and said he knows nothing about it. But I think that will be done. I think it would be ideal for both parties.
I think it would have to take a monumental offer for Celtic.
I think they're going to have to pay him about 50 grand a week. Yeah, they're going to have to.
Yeah, but no, sorry, I think a monumental offer coming in the way for Celtic to let him go.
Okay, yeah.
I think Celtic would
take... If Celtic get offered 40-50 million pounds, then we're looking at potentially...
I don't even think they'd say yes to... Do you even think they'd take 40?
Peter Lill's going to take 40.
Do you think so?
Yep, I wouldn't, but Peter Lill will.
I think he will be here because I don't think anyone's going to offer that money yet.
Look, Edouard is, as I said last night, going to be the man that single-handedly carries us. I mean,
if Celtic win the 10 next year, he scores 30 goals.
We don't have another goal scorer like him, and it's going to be hard to find one like him because we've seen nothing from Bayo Kamara. Griffiths, good player, but not the same goal scorer he once was. We need someone of Edouard's quality to make sure that we get 10. If he's here next year, I have no doubt about 10, and that's why we need him.
Will the league be over if Celtic beat Livingston? Yes.
It's already done. That's done weeks ago.
Doesn't need much more. Right. The other question is, will Celtic do the quadruple treble?
Yes. Yes, it will. Look, we beat Aberdeen. We get a final against.
No,
Hibs.
They won't.
We make it.
Hibs. Oh, Hibs.
No, look, it's not going to be easy. But I think we'll do it. I think the Celtic team know how to get.
All the logic in the world dictates Celtic will do it. However, I have just a funny feeling they won't. I don't know why. I just got a feeling.
Well, we differ on that.
I hope they don't.
Right.
But hey,
okay.
Don't put that bit in your channel. Jesus Christ. Anyway, has Gerrard been a success at Rangers? And just before you dive into an answer, just take a minute to think about this. And I'm going to kick off with this one.
I don't need a minute to think.
I'm going to kick off with this one. Success to me, the word success means you'll have to win something to be successful. Ultimately, I think that's what success means. I don't think Gerrard has been a failure at Rangers, but I think he's somewhere in the middle, because I don't think, to say that he's been a success, he has to have something to show for it, and at the moment he doesn't. However, I said this last week, up until the winter break, there was a constant progression and development in that Rangers team that were getting better under Steven Gerrard. Only in the last couple of months has that stagnated. So I don't think he's been a failure, but he has to win something to be called a success, I think.
Absolute failure. I'm joking. I just see your no, look, honestly. Right, no. I'm very much on the same side as you. He's not been a success. He's not been a failure. For me, look, who would have thought the Rangers 2 years ago, before Gerrard stepped in, would have made back-to-back Europa League group stages, would have got to the last 16 of the Europa League, would have put some form of pressure on Celtic at any point in a league title race. Look, what Gerrard has done to develop that squad from the point they were at is a success. Himself has not been a success, because he's not got anything to show for it, as you said.
Yeah.
But he's not been a failure. I think things could be a lot yet. I think if we get to 10 in a row, I think if Rangers let that happen, that is a failure.
To call him a failure, you'd have to wait till his time at Rangers finished and then assess it.
Yep.
Because if he leaves tomorrow, he's a failure.
Yep. If he was to walk out of the club, Rangers fans would be calling him a failure because the sorry, I can't remember the word.
Anyway, sorry,
just finally
on that point, Liam Riley sent in a question as well. He said, will Gerrard leave? We kind of covered that early on. Neither of us think he will.
Nah,
I think
don't think he will. I think there's a chance, but I don't think he will. Now, there's even more problems in the Ibrox camp. And for me, this season has been a disaster for Rangers. For Steven Gerrard,
it's heading that way.
He'll be incredibly... Look, Rangers, realistically, if they do fair play, realistically, Rangers are going to head out in the last 16 at Europa League. Bayer Leverkusen are a fantastic side.
Yep.
So if you're playing by the odds, then Leverkusen will go through. For me, a trophyless season with a potential of a double-digit gap in the league, and the fact they didn't progress much further in Europe, for me, is all the signs toward a disastrous season. When everything was built up to be the year for Rangers, this was it. They were back after beating us last year towards the end of the season, and then starting off the season as well as they did. This was meant to be the year Rangers were back. And once again, I don't want to come on and come across as a biased, Celtic fan, but the Rangers collapse over the past 3, 4, 5 weeks has been so questionable in so many aspects. I don't get it. And this cup was their only chance of silverware this season. And they go to Hearts. It's not even like they lost with a fluky goal. They had one shot on target the entire game. Well beaten.
I think for Hearts, they played better this time round than they did the last time they beat them. It was a completely controlled performance from Hearts, really. We've said we don't know. Everyone has said they don't know why Rangers have fallen away after winter. But I think now it's becoming more and more apparent. This Rangers squad and group of players are incapable of dealing with the pressure of playing for Glasgow Rangers. Like, they don't know what it means. They don't know how to deal with it. Some of the stuff that they're coming out with, these players, and like stuff about, and I think Michael Beale, I heard this last night, he did an interview on Rangers TV, and he said something about how Rangers are suited playing away from home in Europe because they're underdogs and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, you're playing for Rangers, you are 9 times out of 10 not going to be the underdog. You need to know how to thrive off the pressure of being expected to succeed, and there are so many in that team who aren't. Gerrard's post-match interview on Saturday, he looked to me like a broken man. He looked like he didn't know what to do, and I kind of feel for him a little bit because, he came out and said he was desperate to win, and he looked at his players and he didn't feel like they were the same. Mm-hmm. That for me was a really telling moment, because it's like he's kind of hinted, he's tried different things in the media where he's gone for the players and said they've not been good enough, but at times, like after Thursday, he bigged them up and said he was the happiest man in the world. And now genuinely, I think it's clear as day now that these players don't have the character and the mental strength required to play for Rangers, and that is ultimately what has costed them. And listen, if they think that they're under pressure this season, you just wait till next season. That pressure will be nothing like any Rangers team has seen almost ever.
There's so many question marks surrounding next season. What does Gerrard do? If Gerrard goes out in the last 16, does he keep it on? And they're never going to sack Gerrard.
I want to just get this out there now, because I don't think it's really a debate. I think Gerrard is here regardless of what happens. Do you not think that unless he walks?
Do you not think he's got the
I don't
reason to walk next year?
It's not in his character. It's not in his nature to quit.
I don't think it's in his nature, but at the same time, I feel like he's looked at this Rangers side. He's done everything he possibly can. Well, I think he's getting sick and tired of the letdown that the club keep giving. I don't expect him to walk. I just think there is a realistic possibility that he could. Next year is massive.
Gerrard's signings in the summer need to be more. It's almost like you need to sign characters rather than. That's
the thing. But which characters are going to want to come up here after looking at the disaster of this year, and thinking about?
I think disaster's still a little bit strong.
No, this year's an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster.
What if they beat Bayer Leverkusen?
They beat Bayer Leverkusen. Fair play. What did people say about the Celtic side of 2002 and 3?
Yeah, I suppose so.
That team got to a UEFA Cup final. Rangers are not going to get to a Europa League final. If they do, then I'll happily raise my hands and say I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna. And Celtic won nothing that year. And all we think about is two-headed goals by Larson in the final.
See, right, here's the thing. Let's have a quick look at the league table, right? If Celtic get beat off Livingston and Rangers beat Hamilton, it goes back to 9 points with a game in hand for Rangers.
Yep, but
all of a sudden it doesn't look as dreadful as it does just now.
Yep.
And it's not out of the question that Livingston beat Celtic tomorrow night.
No, it's not, considering the last time we went to Tony Macaroni. It was an abysmal day.
I think Celtic needs to be better than they did at the weekend.
I think Celtic will learn from the mistakes, though.
So do I. I just think that.
I think we'll go over and get.
For all you're saying that Rangers are having a disaster of a season, I think they could be.
Change my mind.
I'm not going to change their mind. But I'm not going to change their mind.
Unless
I think
we could maybe change over the next 10 games left, 11 games for Rangers. Over the next 11 games, maybe I could put. Nah, do you know what? Actually, no. Unless Rangers come back and win the title, this season's been a disaster.
So what if Rangers finish a point off Celtic and get through to the semi-final of the Europa League?
Where's their silverware?
That is mental. So if Rangers get to the semi of the Europa League,
they've just and there's a potential chance that they're watching their rivals lift another
but that doesn't make it a disaster, because it's Celtic winning the title is like it just.
No, I'm not. No, right, because fine. I'd sit here. Let me put it into context for you. Right, it's hard for you to understand because you're a Dunfermline fan. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Don't be cheeky, son. Right?
No, I respect you. I respect that you're a Dunfermline fan. I really do. But what I'm saying is, if I was on the opposite, if I was a Celtic fan and I was watching Rangers lift a treble, no matter how many points we finished behind them, I'd be looking at the season as a disaster. Especially if we had the same sort of media build-up and faith from everyone that we were going to do something.
But you've got to have that.
If we didn't make Hampden for the Scottish Cup, if we were beating the League Cup final, if we didn't win the league, I would be incredibly disappointed. As a Celtic fan, I would call this a disaster. I'd call it a disaster. I would. I'd stand by that. I would absolutely call it a disaster.
Okay, then what was last season then? If Rangers finished a point behind Celtic this season, what was last season for Rangers?
A disaster.
But what?
They didn't even make.
I know, but what I'm saying is,
it's even worse.
What I'm saying is exactly what I'm saying. Last season, I wouldn't even have said last season was a disaster for Rangers, but it would have been so much worse than if Rangers were close this season.
I think the only thing
at least there'd be some sort of progression.
I think the only thing last season that would maybe not make it a disaster is there was nowhere near the same media hype, and there was nowhere near the same sort of own self-belief from the Rangers camp and Rangers fans.
You've got to have self-belief. You can't not have that self-belief. If you don't believe you're going to do it, you're never going to do it. They've got to have self-belief. How was the life of being a football fan?
But it's not just the self-belief, David. It's the confidence and cockiness that goes alongside it at times.
But that's what football's all about. Though you live for the highs, you live for the lows, and you got to enjoy them all and take them all in. Look at if Dunfermline get beat, I'm the happiest man on the planet.
I hate that.
But the next minute, I'm like, it's just really how football works.
I hate that I come across, and
you can't be level-headed all the time.
I want to come across here as someone who has given Celtic and Rangers an equally fair, balanced conversation on this podcast, and I feel like up until the last couple of weeks I have done exactly that. But if I was, and I reiterate it one more time, if I was a Celtic fan and we were in Rangers' position as of now, because it's not going to change, the gap is not going to go to 1 point. We can say that
it's
right now.
It's all hypothetical.
Not going to happen. The gap will be double digits. It will. It'll be a double-digit gap at the end of the season.
All the logic
and a double-digit gap, double-digit gap, and no trophies. Rangers' season is a disaster.